Hello, and welcome back to the LAMDA log. We are in a new week, new day, new time. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good time of day, whatever it may be for you. This is week 8, day 1 of term 2. That's March 9th, 2026. We had a warm up and then we jumped right into voice to text. And it was a little rough, but we persevered. We did it. So next week is our penultimate class, which is wild. Before we do our performances. Next week will be like a dress rehearsal, so we might also do these during a lunch hour to kind of practice doing it in front of people. Remember and review content warnings. Mine doesn't really need it. We need to separate the like heaviest speeches of similar topics, so that is not like one after the other, so they're not back to back. So then the first person went, and it was about acting to end genocide in Palestine. And it was a great speech, super clear, really specific call to arms. It was really well delivered, such a personal topic at the moment. And it got emotional at the end. And so we need to steel ourselves and make sure that the audience isn't worried about us, the speaker, but about the message itself. So when you feel emotional, get louder, get madder instead of crying. That's a way to kind of fight against that. Then the next person talked about disability protection or protecting rights for people with disabilities. I'm gonna sneeze, maybe. Really get the words in your mouth and figure out where you're going to breathe and look. And if you get really technical about that, then it'll be kind of easier to do certain things. Give yourself a break when performing / rehearsing the first time, right? It's your first time like doing it in front of a group. You're okay if you're not perfect. Practice with your quadrants, setting specific points in a room so you can feel that in your body a little better. And then let the listeners sit in the feelings of the emotions and moments. Then I went. Mine is about decency and union. And it did not go well. Haha, is what I wrote. It took 4 minutes and 40 seconds, and it needs to be at 3 minutes. I felt nervous. My knees were shaking, and I was stumbling a ton with the lines. I thought I had it much more memorized than I did, and I need to cut a lot out of it. So yeah. Look at that. Then the next person went, and it was about the genocide in Gaza as well. And this was her second speech. It still needs some cuts, but it's a much better one than the first choice. My homework is to cut the speech, clean it up, focus it. We then got up one at a time and allowed the audience to respond positively or negatively, be a thinking, feeling person as you sit there. So there was sound like or oof, really? Things like that. So that we can kind of navigate that more. We started one end and then we went clockwise through it, anti-clockwise. And then take on those sounds and responses. Let the responses drive you, not pause you. When you do a couple of rounds, it becomes self-indulgent. It's general sweep. It doesn't need to be an individual. You don't need to connect with every individual person. You're just kind of checking in, making sure no one has a brick to throw at you. If you feel like it's going down the drain, pause and start over. Fix it. Not start the whole speech over, but like start where you are. Especially if you're like hitting those dials of the clock. Just boom, boom. Just start anew in the technique. Don't let the lines fall off. Build them. Go big. This should cost us. We should feel spent by the end of it. Vocally turn the corner and reflect the important shifts. Maybe people in the audience don't get it and you need to convince them and let it affect you. Don't give too much space for us to answer the questions we can answer. Like, let it sit with them, but then jump on and answer those questions. Your plan has not worked. Build to it. like those kind of button statements, and then get into it. But know the words material well enough that the energy doesn't mess you up. You can acknowledge and take the energy of comments, shame, whatever that might be. Like if you're talking to this person, say, da 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 da, they say something, you're like, da 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 da. Excuse me. We don't have to apologize for for feeling passionate about anything. We are not alone. Celebrate the passion. Took in the energy from responses and went to a quieter section to get them more involved. In a big tricolon that has three long items, you can split it up into three different people. Just connect the thoughts, right? You can add an aside to translate to an interpreter, or translate or interpret like a specific language or phrases, something that other people might not know. Like you could say, I don't know, for example, I'm just gonna say something. This great libertad, liberty, is something that's very important. Blah blah blah. You know, kind of like that. And then the subject matter will bear it, just like in the Shakespeare. The text will bear it. The subject matter will bear these big emotions as well. And these speeches are like duologues. They're like dialogues with the audience. So allow the audience to be involved and participate in that kind of sense. Go over in voice and be specific. Big voice in a casual body. Kind of raise a soft palate. Open the pharynx. Start to trust your vocal ability. You can't play to the love, right? Because people will tune out the ones that aren't loving. Like if there's people who are like getting it, you can't just speak to them, because the ones that aren't getting it you're gonna lose them, and then it's gonna be much harder to get them back. So also, if you shame somebody, then they get defensive and push back. So if you play to love, other people will tune you out. If you shame people, they will get defensive. And then performances are learning opportunities. Experience takes experiences. And we had lunch, and I worked on my self-tape with Tilly, which was, I think, going to be a huge blessing. We got something done. I don't know if I'll be happy with it. Spoiler alert, little jump to the future me, because this is Wednesday morning I'm recording this. Teehee. I was fine with it. I submitted it. We're good. Then we had mask work with Heriberto, and we walked the space. We balanced the space, meaning that we tried to stop as a group and like equally spread out. I was paired up with two again, and then we leaned against the wall. We leaned against each other, and then we held each other's hips as you lean forward and kind of release into that, and then you lean forward and then begin to walk as they're pulling you back, and then you're released and you kind of go back. So you really walk from the core. I did that with both of them. We described with our bodies our favorite food and how to make it. And I went with Don Joaquin's carne asada burrito. And we talked about how it's made and what makes it special. And you can see that there's a guttural, like physical response and way that we connect with these things that we're passionate about. The body knows. And yeah, that took a while. We went by everybody talking about their favorite food. I went first. That was good. Yeah. And one of the students just didn't connect with it and was struggling to find the joy and the playfulness in the opportunity and in the experience. And Heriberto pushed him and was like, yeah, but like what? Just think about it. What does it create for you? Or what are these things? And he couldn't find a food. He couldn't find a thing, and it just kind of made him sad. And so we gave him space for that, and it was good for him to kind of have that experience. And I think he was able to talk to Heriberto at the end too. But we all love and support him. And then we cooked it. with passion in a minute. So like we kind of like went through the motion of what we would do to make it. And then we had people do that in front of the class uh, in a giant version for the whole class. The first one made a Wiener Schnitzel. And so that was wonderful. And everybody's description of it was so good. And we were kind of pushing to an allegory, an idea of what this is, or the heightened idea. This what am I saying? Um, Symbol. Like I said, as I was pushing, I was like, it makes me. Don Joaquin's is like eating it is freedom. It makes me so grateful for Mexico, and for the amazing culture of that people and their food and everything. Um, and so that one was great too, because with the Wiener Schnitzel at the end, after it was giant, Eddie took the last bit from him and made him placked. What am I saying? Hmm. Um, he made him plead for it, I think is what it says. Yeah, plead for it, and like tried to grab it from him, and he like jumped on his back, and he was going for it. Um, and then he was so good at it. He loves the game, and he gives in to the circumstances, and he pled for it. And then once he had it, he rocked it like a baby and sang it to a lullaby and was able to eat it. And just to see that guttural desperation and the need to eat this Wiener Schnitzel. Um, and then you need it, and that desire is primal and guttural. It's physically desperate. He wants to see us want to go. So he asked like who went next, and yeah, last week I was like I didn't go and I wanted to, and so I was like I'm gonna go this week, and so I got up, and he was like well, first somebody else got up who did go last week. He's like, you get up a lot, let's pick someone else. And then I got up. I was like, I've done it before, but I could do it. He's like, well, you might not. And I was like, okay. And then somebody got up, and then he just talked about how he wants us to have that feeling like I want to go. And so after I went, but we'll get there. So the next person went, and he made his dad's burger, and Eddie helped feed him like a conveyor belt, just He was like and just eating all this burger, and then it was just that extreme desired feeling. And then I went and I made the burrito, and I got to wear the mask. So I had this half mask that looked very sad. It had these turned up eyes and these lines here, and then I had the top lip. And my character was Hispanic, because it's hard to talk about a burrito, if you're not um, using Spanish. I don't know, like when I'm putting onion on a burrito, it doesn't feel like onion, it feels like cebolla. And when I'm putting the salsa on it, it's not just salsa, it's salsa verde, and queso and frijoles and carne asada, and it's all of that, and tortilla. And so then I did that, and it was delightful. And I made this beautiful giant burrito that was the size of a bed, probably maybe a little smaller in my bed. But and then I looked down and it was gone. It had disappeared. And then I focused on through the mask I was focusing on sharing the experience with the audience. That's kind of where I leveled up in that sense, as we built on each other. And then my stomach was hungry, and I didn't have that burrito because it disappeared, and so I spoke for my stomach, and it was like the channels on a radio, and I was like, what does it say? I was like, I'm hungry, feed me. Por favor, monsieur. Or like monsieur, that's combining all languages. I don't know exactly what I did, but then I was like talking, And with text, we are shy and we need to connect with our bodies and become more wild. Then we had a 30-minute break. And then we went into our scene study with Brittany. She's back in action. She's here and she's killing it. Pregnant and beautiful. So with the absences, we're gonna do 3 scenes, and then we're gonna do 3 scenes, and then we're going to do our last two, choosing which scene we wanted to do, and then do it as an individual with a reader. But since we lost a day because Brittany was out, we're just going to get rid of this one. So then we'll just have one day of picking which 3 scene we want to do. So next week we will have one of these three scenes. So next week we'll have our third scene, and then the last week we'll choose which scene we want to do. Yeah. And then the first group went, and there is such an ease of falling into the overlap, right, for these characters. Because we did a scene from Top Girls, and it has a lot of lines that overlap. And the scene that we did are two sisters kind of talking about, they're arguing about their relationship with their mom, and one of them left home and became like a career woman, and she hasn't been to see their mom, who's in a facility and seems to have dementia. And then and she also had a daughter that her sister's taking care of, and her sister's like kind of taking her as her own. So it's this woman who kind of sacrificed family for career and everything, and this other woman who's her sister who has sacrificed everything for family and for normalcy and all of that. So it's their conflict. So let this change and shift affect you from the beginning. Have a moment at the start, right? So where were you beforehand? And do they hurt each other in the scene? And that hurt feelings, those hurt feelings are bad from the beginning. They're underlying, it's bubbling emotion. Does she think she's been a good daughter, Maureen, the career woman? No, but she has to believe it, and she has to convince everyone that it's true. And the scene seems like they're talking about the same thing, but they're really not. What are they trying to do to each other? How are they trying to affect each other? And the next two went, and are they avoiding this conversation, and why? And how are they different? And the conversation is basically Joyce, the home sister, is saying like, you left, we don't need you, you don't have to come back. And the career sister's like, you can leave too, no one has to visit mom, no one has to do these things, you can take care of yourself, kind of a thing. And what I did was totally fine. It's like, yeah, get that, but you don't get rights from that. How are they different? That difference will inform the way they fight, the way they act and deal with each other. How do they meet each other? Explore the stereotypes and archetypes, and nuance can be added later. How would you approach this like a corporate boardroom? Why would this mask be coming up? And is it her comfort person? What is it? What she knows? And then you need to solve these certain phrases. There's questions and things. And when reviewing the text originally, there's certain ones that you need to solve. So Joyce says, don't tell me, don't talk to me, don't come back. These three don't. So why are these? What has Maureen said that leads to these? And what is the triggering word or idea? And what am I, playing Joyce, trying to do to her? And how do you navigate the overlapping? Then the next person went, and I didn't get to watch it because I went out in the hallway with my partner, and we did this cool thing. I was confident in the lines, not like super confident, but I was pretty confident. I just had some overlap problems. Because the way it's written, there's dashes where you start your next line before they finish their first one, and then there's asterisks where you like continue, and so it's a little hard to remember like where you come in and how to overlap and maintain your part while they're doing it. But we just kind of went through the scene a couple times, and then when we improvised the conversation, a future conversation or the subtext of the conversation, and it was cool. It was this idea of struggle and this idea of just that Maureen, Joyce speaking to Maureen, and from Joyce's perspective, is Maureen doesn't have the right to to benefit from the family she's abandoned. She doesn't have the, and it's not fair that she goes to mom to go visit mom in whatever facility, and that she remembers her and that she was lucid, because I go and she wanders and she forgets me, when I've dedicated my life and given up so many opportunities and so many things, and I'm taking care of her child and I'm doing this and doing that, and there's so much involved with it. So it's 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 difficult. um yeah, but it was good. It was sad. It was this great coming together. And then when we actually did it, we the notes I took is that really find the specific, specify the love, right? What is their version of love, and how is it, and how it shows and how it colors the tactics. Next layer in the flow and the moment, of sitting into it, is the first five. Oh, next layer, I think, is the flow and the moments of sitting in it. So the first five lines kind of flow, and then there's a sit and a shift. We captured those shifts pretty well, but we didn't get the flow as well. So complex characters can be feeling multiple things at the same time. So capture all of it. Then the next two went, and good pressed pace. The one playing Maureen was feeling stagnant, and so gets this forced feeling of standing, but kind of understands that that's unnecessary. Also, each time we performed and we did these, we did it two or three times after receiving some instruction and direction. So deal with the other person and trust your body will follow suit. We weren't happy. Were you happy? That's one of the lines that Maureen says to Joyce. What does that mean? Family? Is it talking about the family life? Talk about escape, right? What is that? Ask the right questions, and the scene begins to happen. So, for example, it's like what my partner and I did outside. It's like we just started asking questions and exploring the characters, and then the scene is happening, and the characters are embodied, right? And so much is two people with different opinions and perspectives influencing how the other one feels. So take care of the other person, focus on them. You don't have to move unless the other character makes you move. Deal with the problem. The guy playing Maureen wanted to stand, but his like action was just a line behind. So he just like did this lean forward and then stood up. And it's interesting. We talked about this leaning forward, how it's not a natural human thing. It's an actor thing. It's like, I'm trying to connect, so let me lean forward and get into it. When a lot of the time we just kind of sit back into it. Yeah, we hardly lean forward as people. It almost always is a desire for an action. So step forward or rise or do something. Get out of your head and into your body. Deal with the other person. Then the next two went, and note the difference of leaning forward to reach and connect with the other person to when the lean became about an intentional threat. Why am I learning? Why am I leaning? Right? Really think about that. Is there purpose behind it, or is it just an actor trying to connect with another actor? There's a line, look, you've left, has been articulated for the first time, but it's been the subtext for the whole scene. We can do it without you isn't heard, so it's repeated. We understand that we can do without you, and so that's where it's more heard. And so with the repetition, how does that affect the other character? And then know in the transitional parts what is being said to ignite the change. Leaning is searching to be heard as an actor, not as the character. No lean looks like you're grounded, set people in their ways. You are 100% correct in what you believe. You can stand your ground. That's what your character must think. And then how is that? Better? Why? Just good teaching questions. After physically reaching is stopped, a vocal reach, raising in pitch can sometimes come in. So use tactics instead of these reachings. The more you can start thinking about tactics and choices from the character's perspective, this will free you up. How would that character respond to the situation? Line of response. Think about it coming from the character, not you, the actor, making glorious choices, right? The more you can just embody the character, the more you can just perform and just do it, right? Because it's all about being in the moment and doing it. And if you can understand that character and put yourself in their perspective and in their shoes, then your responses will be the character's responses. How to keep character and action separate. You can layer in work so that you're improving constantly and not just using all of your work and not just losing all your work. So layer things in one at a time. What's your hook with the character? There's a grace of layering and editing. Trust the hook. And then the last group went, and with theater, they're not expecting all of your actions with theater auditions, they're not expecting all of your choices to be the choices, right? Your director can just be like, oh, they made a good choice, but I could just redirect that, and that's great. It's just not that, it's not that deep. What's new information and what's not? She does wander. Is that the first time you knew that she's having these struggles? And then do you want her here? Asking if you want Maureen there as Joyce, and I'm going to do my duty, and I'm going to host my sister. But then what lines to solve? There's one where she says like effing waste of a life, and Joyce has failed at giving them a life. Maureen doesn't even know what that life is like, and how can she claim that it's a waste of a life? This has been Joyce's entire life too. And why is Maureen actually here? To connect. What is her purpose? And then what does Joyce want? Next step for Maureen is how much does she show? And always ask, what is my mask and what is going on underneath? Great improvements and clarity and using the downstage space. And we listened much better. It was a great improvement from our last one. And I think I'm losing my light a little bit. But then finally, I went to the MFA students, so the D2s and M2s. They had a showcase performance of their little Fool's Fringe, and it was quite enjoyable. It was just little bunch of little scenes, and I enjoyed it. And that was Monday, week 8, day 2, the 9th of March. So hope you guys have a wonderful day, lifetime, or whatever it may be. Au revoir.